Okay, so we are good to proceed now. So today we are going to discuss this thing called indicators. We've been talking about indicators. Now finally, the slide for indicator is now closer to us. Before we can look at the definition that I have here, is there anyone in this class who can try to define what an indicator is? You don't have to define it exactly the way it is here. You can define it in your own way. There is no problem, provided you define it. What do we think an indicator is? Yes, sir. Sorry? So, Mr. Shamta is saying that an indicator is a sign. Yes, sister? Sorry? A key pointer, right? Okay. So, the fun thing about monitoring and evaluation is that the very thing that we've been doing, just like the way we are trying to look at the logical framework, you'll be doing it in the same manner. Like it doesn't differ. You don't have to wait for another miracle to come that something you go beyond like that. In the same manner, like an example that I'll give is when we discuss a conceptual framework. The way we developed our own conceptual framework, that's how you're going to be developing the conceptual framework. So everything that is covered in this particular course is very important. It's very important. Even when we look at the indicators here, though the indicators they might be a little bit different because they require a bit of a calculation for you to come up with a number. But for those frameworks, all you need is to understand if someone talks about an outcome, what's an outcome? Exactly. Because if you don't understand what an outcome is, you end up putting something wrong under the outcome column, then it means you're going to misinform the organization. The organization is going to make a decision based on the information that you've given them because you misclassified the outcome. I know for the inputs it's very easy because we are looking at the resources, so that's the easiest thing, even for the activities. So, I've been given two definitions. Mr. Shamta said an indicator is a sign. Then my sister here is saying an indicator is a key pointer. Who else? Yes, sir? It's a measure. Wonderful. Okay. So you're going to combine now what we've received and make it as a full definition. Exactly, right? So him is saying it's a measure. Okay. Are you able to go beyond that? Or you need someone to help you? So he's saying it's a measure. He's saying it's a sign. She's saying it's a key pointer. Okay, next question. So if you are saying an indicator is a sign, it's a measure, it's a key pointer. It's a key pointer for what exactly? If we are saying it's a measure, it's a sign, it's a key pointer to what exactly? Sorry? To something which is happening. So now, let's contextualize it to what we've been doing either in monitoring and evaluation or in projects. Because when I say project, it means monitoring and evaluation is now embedded in the projects. So here, we are not talking about what is happening. We are now relating it to our results, which are happening in phases, right? Yes, sister. Can you say something? Yes, sir. I agree. Saying something that you can use to measure your activities. But now, when you go back to your frameworks, especially the framework which we covered yesterday, we had 5 things in that particular framework, which was the logic model. So I want you now to think in that way, where I said from inputs, what, all the way up to the impact, because that's where the indicators will come. So it should go just have a grid like it's a sign that will be showing something. But now I want you now to contextualize that something that we're talking about. What exactly is that something? Yes. Exactly. So is put it to say under the input level. we can look at the money that we have. It's an indicator. We can develop an indicator at the input level. And that indicator, we are going to be reporting on the indicator. Are we together? So we'll go in details to now define what an indicator is, and then we are now going to allocate the indicators that we can put under the qualitative and the indicators that we can have under quantitative, and now we can go about computing the indicators because they are very fundamental to us. Remember, it's not always possible for you to be writing a full report. The full report usually comes at the end of the project where now you want to document everything. But during the implementation of the project, you may just prefer to be collecting information on the indicators and report on the indicators. You can proceed, sir. So he just tackled one part, which is talking about the inputs. Who can help him? He's tackled one part, which is talking about the inputs. System. Sir, that side, you wanted to say something. Like, it will not go beyond what I've already said. I just want you to contextualize it. I don't want you to say that it's a sign of something, like I'm not interested in something. I want to know that, no, it's a sign that will show me whether the inputs that I have has caused me to do the activities, and whether those activities are giving me the desired immediate results, and those immediate results, whether those again at some point will result into the desired outcome. And finally, if I achieve my desired outcome, am I achieving the goal? That's what I want you to contextualize. Not just to say it's a measure of something. Yes, I agree, but we need to relate it to the project that we are doing, which happens in 5 phases. You have the inputs, you have the activities, you have your immediate results, you have your intermediate results, then you have your final results, right? So it means the indicators will be speaking to you along the way. Have you seen your outputs? Have you seen your immediate result right after conducting an activity? The indicator should be able to speak to you. When you talk about the magnitude, the indicator should be able to speak to you. So, and that's a definition for an indicator, which you already talked about, saying it's a statistical value, defining a condition, and so on and so forth. You can go and read that definition. For me, I'm more interested in what is coming thereafter. So just like I said yesterday when we looked at the logic model, that from the inputs to the activities, output, outcome, impact, all those levels talks about indicators. Everything that are supposed to be there are supposed to be indicators. Then here I already talked about the more you move away from this level going up, the lesser the indicators that you have. Because going there, you don't have control, it becomes very much complicated for you to measure the change. Hence, the lesser the indicators that you have. Because if you have more and more indicators, then it means it will be calling for more and more and more resources. We can just take about 2 minutes just to look at the characteristics of good indicators. So the first one there is talking about validity. It's supposed to be accurate measure of a behavior or practice or task. I'll give an example for those of you that have been doing research. There is something called a pilot study, right? So in that pilot study, the only sense of you doing a pilot study is simply a study that you do before you do an actual study. And the major purpose of that study, just for you to test your questionnaire, is the questionnaire capturing what it's supposed to measure. And what that means is that you've designed your questionnaire, which has got questions in it. So now you want to test those questions that you have. But these questions answering the objectives that I have in this particular research. If there is a question which is not linked to your objective, it means that particular question will be deemed irrelevant, and hence you are going to exclude it. So by doing that, now you are doing what is called validity. Is the questionnaire supposed to measure what? Is the questionnaire measuring what it's supposed to measure? Even for the indicators, you need to measure. You need to make sure that this part of validity is captured. Is the indicator capturing what it's supposed to capture at that particular level? If you're talking about the inputs, it should be at that particular level. If you are talking about the outcome, the indicator should be at that particular level. If you are talking about the activities, the indicator should be at, it should come at that particular level. Is the indicator capturing what's supposed to capture at this particular level? Then the next one there is talking about the indicator being reliable. Reliable, we're talking, means that are we able to get the same results from the same indicator? If me, I was to use the same indicator, I capture it here. Then if the other researcher comes in and uses the same indicator, are we able to get the same results? So a good indicator is always supposed to give you results that are consistent, regardless of who is doing it. If me, I come in, I use the same indicator, I measure it, I have my own findings. Then the other person comes in, they use the same indicator, they have different findings, they must know that that's not a good indicator. Possibly, we did not develop it well. Then it's also looking at precise, supposed to be defined in operational terms. What it means in operation terms, for those of you that have been doing research, I'm still referring to research because what we have here is very common in research. Very common in research. So when you talk about operational terms, there are two things in research that is talked about. There's what is called a conceptual definition and operational definition. A conceptual definition, it means you are defining a term by using a different term. For example, someone who's an elderly person, I can define an elderly person by using another term, right? An elderly person, which other term can we use to define an elderly person? We are not defining in details, we're just trying to use another term that will mean the same as an elderly person. An elderly person, on the other hand, I can say an old person, right? I've just used a different term. That's what it means when they say conceptual definition, defining a term by using a different term. Are we together? But now, here, operational means that now I have to define precisely what an elderly person is. So in this case, I can say that an elderly person is someone who is aged 65 years and above. Are we together? An elderly person is someone who is aged 65 years and above. By doing that, it becomes very easy for you to measure. You can't make measurements on a conceptual definition, it's very difficult. But when now you narrow it down, you define what an elderly person is, it becomes very easy for you to measure. In the same manner, we are supposed, as we develop an indicator, that's why before we end today's class, we are going to look at what is called the indicator reference sheet, where now all these factors that we are listing here will be captured. At this particular point in time, we're just going to look at this, but to come where now all these listed factors are supposed to be captured in an indicator. Without capturing all these listed factors, it means the indicator that we have is not a good indicator. And in a long run, it may give us problems when it comes to measurements. Measurable, it means all indicators that you're supposed to, all indicators included in a project using those frameworks that we discussed are supposed to be quantified using available tools and methods. In other words, whatever indicator that we are going to develop here, we are supposed to measure it at some point. We need to do some computation. How are we going to be reporting on it? We can only be able to report on an indicator if we are able to measure it. Timely, that means it must be time bound. It should state when it will be measured exactly, or it should state exactly when the data on that particular indicator will be collected and when you are going to be reporting on that particular indicator. Then the last point here, just talking about that, in as much as you can have all those listed features of an indicator, the indicator that you develop should be linked to that desired change, and that desired change is simply talking about the impact, the final thing of that particular project. Where do you want to be? That's the impact. So all the indicators that you are going to have, starting from the inputs, activities, outcome, outputs should be linked to the impact. Should you have an indicator that is outside or that is not falling within the context of your impact, it means that's not a good indicator because it's not linked to what you intend to achieve. Why should you keep that indicator? Are we together? So those are just characteristics of what we can say to be a good indicator. If an indicator does not have those, then we can term it to be a bad indicator. Then key questions to ask when selecting an indicator. Do they meet programmatic needs? Do they give you useful information for decision making? Are they feasible considering time, money, and staffing? Do they match external requirements? Is the data available? How accurate is the data? So the indicators that we have, or the indicators that you are going to develop, it's not just a matter of you developing indicators. No, this is an indicator. This is what we are going to put here because here at the output, we are supposed to put in an indicator. No. The indicator should answer these questions that we have. To start with, the reason why you develop indicators is for you to use that particular information that will come from an indicator to make decisions, either to decide whether to continue funding that project or to cancel off the funding. Internally, you want to use the information which is coming from the indicators to improve program performance, right? Then that means that all the indicators that you are supposed to include in your frameworks, or rather in your indicator reference sheet, it should be those indicators that you deem to be important to you yourself as a project, where you know that if we were to collect information on this particular indicator, we should be able to use the information that we generate to make decisions. If we are not interested in that particular indicator, if we are not going to be using the information on that particular indicator, then it will not be wise for us to include the indicator, to include the indicator in the frameworks because we are not going to use the information generated. But there are times, like this point which is talking about, do they match external requirements? It could be the donors that are telling you that you should be reporting on this indicator because they're giving you money, then you've got no objection. Maybe it could be the government is interested in something, then they are asking you, can you please include this indicator? In such a circumstance, you can include an indicator, that particular indicator. But if the funders, they do not need that indicator, no one else is going to utilize that indicator, then it wouldn't make sense for you to include that particular indicator in your project. You need to exclude it. In as much as you might feel, no, this is looking good, but you're not going to use it anyway. So it means it becomes irrelevant. So all these questions are supposed to be answered. Not all of them can be answered, but at least, like this one here, this one is very important. Is the data variable? So it's not just about saying, no, maternal mortality rate. It's an indicator. Maternal mortality rate. You need to ask yourself, where are we going to be getting the information for us to be able to measure this indicator? If you've not answered this question, then just exclude that indicator. Because even if you put it, you're not going to measure it. You don't know where you're going to be getting information. No wonder in the logical framework, we are just a column which was talking about means of verification. How are you going to be measuring that indicator? Where are you going to get the information? So this one is very important. The next to it is this one. So again, the same available information that we have, we need to look at the accuracy of this information. It's possible for someone just to put information somewhere, then they give you do the analysis, then you report on it, and this is where we are. Meanwhile, that data that you collected, someone just put it under the tree, then they gave you. So these particular points are very key when it comes to indicators. It's common that those people that you train to collect data for you, no wonder you need to pay them enough so that they're motivated about the work that they're doing. Because it's possible. If you're giving me 1,000, then it's taking me 2 hours to finish one questionnaire. I'll just go and sit under the tree, fill out all the questionnaires and give you back. I'm done. The people of VUB have answered. So it means the data that we have here is not accurate because it does not represent the opinions of the people from Vubi, but it's just talking about me. But you will not know. You proceed, load that data either in Stata, SPSS, App Info, whichever statistical tool you are going to use. Come up with the good analysis, then you start reporting on it. Oh, actually, HIV prevalence in Vubi has reduced to 2%. Meanwhile, actually, HIV prevalence in Vubi is now 19%. So we need to be very careful in data. Yes. So much external requirements, this is where the funders are the government. This is where the people are giving you money and the government. Or in other words, talking about other stakeholders that are in that particular project. They need that information, more especially on the funders. Like I was giving an example yesterday that sometimes back, these European countries, they used to fund the census in some. So it means those people will dictate the variables that are supposed to be captured there. No, we need you to capture this, we need you to capture this, we need you to capture this. Because they're giving you money, you've got no objection. Then even here, when you're developing indicators, because the indicators is something that is going to be speaking to us throughout the project. Where are we in terms of success? Are we together? But all the indicators that are supposed to be included in your project, you need to ask yourself this question. Is this particular indicator or the information generated from this particular indicator needed by the funders? If the answer is no, fine. You move ahead to say, is this particular indicator needed by the government? If the answer is no, fine. We internally, do we need this indicator? If the answer is no, what do? It means, in as much as you are going to collect that information, you don't have any plan for you to use that information. What do you do if you don't want to waste resources? You discard that particular indicator off. Are we together? So precisely, this one is talking about the other people that are related to the project. Are they going to be using the information? If they don't need that information and we don't need it to, then it's irrelevant for us to include that indicator. The last one is talking about, are you collecting the information appropriately? So this one actually is linked to this. We are talking about how accurate is the data. Are we collecting the information appropriately? Appropriately is also talking about in terms of time. It's possible that here I administer the service today, right? Then we know that for a change to happen is something that might take about 3 years. Then 2 months later, I go into the community, I start asking them, how is the service? Have you benefited from this service? What changes can you say that this service which benefits can you, let me not put it back because I've already talked about the benefits. Have you experienced any changes after receiving this particular service? Meanwhile, in your plan, you have put that for this particular change to happen, something that will take about 2 years. But again, because you've got enough money, there is someone who wants to benefit from that money, then now they change that. No, can't wait for that 2 years. Can we go right after 2 months and go and assess that particular change? So that's what now this particular thing is talking about. Are you collecting the information appropriately, relating it to time? Because there are things that takes about 5 years for it to happen as a change. So you can't go after 2 months of administering the service and no, let's go and measure the change. Like HIV prevalence, right? It's something that will take many and many years for you to be able to notice that indeed the service that we administered had contributed to the reduction. You can't just give a condom to someone today, then tomorrow you go that you start measuring HIV prevalence. It's not possible. So that question there, are you collecting the information appropriately? So this one we'll discuss it later. So we have the choco here. So for indicators, we've got we don't have anything. It's not sure. So for indicators, we've got 2 types of indicators. We've got the qualitative indicators and we've got the quantitative indicators. So when you say quantitative indicators, then it means these are the indicators that will be measured numerically. Then on the other hand, when we say qualitative indicators, it means we're talking about those indicators that will come in a narrative format. Just the way it is for research, we've got 2 approaches. On the other hand, there is quantitative approach which deals with numbers. Then on the other hand, you've got what? The qualitative side which deals with opinions from the people that are being engaged in a survey. So we are going to start with the quantitative indicators. The first form of an indicator, of a quantitative indicator, is what is called a count. That's that I don't have a chalk and I don't have a slide because I typed this notes on the indicators, but I was trying to search for it. I couldn't find it, so we are just going to discuss. So the first form of a quantitative indicator is called a count, and that's the simplest. A count is where you just count, like here I can just say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 people. So I'm just going to say 10 people attended the class. As simple as that. That's what the count implies. That's what the count implies. You just count the number of people, the number of workshops. How many workshops did you conduct? 10 workshops were conducted. That's a count. That's the simplest one. Then the next form of quantitative indicators, what is called a ratio. So a ratio has got a numerator and a denominator. A ratio has got a numerator and a denominator. For example, is what is called is it pupil teacher ratio or the other way around? How do you call it? Is it teacher pupil ratio or pupil teacher ratio? Sorry, teacher pupil ratio, right? Miss Emma, do we have a chalk here? I was supposed to write something. Okay, I think I can be typing here, right? So we are saying that a ratio has got a numerator and a denominator. Let me just increase the font size. Teacher pupil ratio. Oh. Okay, we are able to see now, right? So a ratio has got the numerator and the denominator. Oh, let me list all of them. Then from there we'll start discussing one by one. Then the next one should be what is called Aerate, which has also got the numerator and the denominator. Then there is a percentage. It just simply talks about the rate, but you say multiply by 100. There's a numerator there, denominator multiply by 100. Okay, so we've got a numerator. Sorry, we've got a ratio, we've got a rate, then we've got a percentage. And the percentage is just simply an extension of the rate. When you say multiply by 100, then it becomes a percentage. Now let's dissect the things that we have here. In a rate, the numerator is a subset of the denominator. In a rate, the numerator is a subset of the denominator. For example, maternal mortality rate. Who knows how to measure maternal mortality rate? Anyone with an idea maternal mortality rate. Who knows? Anyone with an idea? Number of deaths? Precisely. The numerator will be total number of deaths, right? Divided by the total number of live births in a population. Okay, let me find something that is going to be straightforward, because here we'll be talking about mothers. I said maternal mortality rate, right? Okay, let's just say mortality rate. Mortality rate. So mortality rate will be total number of people who died divided by the total population where the occurrence of death occurred. Are we together? So here we said that the numerator is a subset of what? The denominator. The denominator in this case is the total population. Then the numerator, we are talking about what? Deaths. Then those deaths occurred in what? In the same general population, which is our denominator. Are we together? But in a ratio, the numerator and the denominator are not related. No wonder we are saying teacher to pupil ratio. We are going to look at this. We are going to come up with an example so that we even know how to interpret this, right? Yes. The numerator is a subset of the denominator in a rate. Then in a ratio, the numerator and the denominator are not related at all. They are two different components. But in a rate, there's a relationship. In fact, if you were to write an exam in M&E, this question always comes. Someone will ask you, what's the relationship of the numerator and the denominator in a ratio? As simple as it comes like that. So in a ratio, the numerator and the denominator are not related at all. Then in a rate, the numerator is a subset of the denominator. So we can move on. So let's use the same teacher to pupil ratio. Right? We are assuming that it's one of the indicators that we have, right? So here we now have to, here we've got a numerator and then we've got a denominator. So the numerator there will be for what? The numerator will be for what? Teachers, the number of teachers are variable, right? So the numerator there will be the number of teachers. Then the D will be what? Hello? Pupils, okay. So let's pick VUPI Primary School, right? Let's say at VUPI Primary School there are 10 teachers, right? Then at VUPI Primary School, let's say there are 2,000 pupils, right? So once we have the information like that, then it becomes very easy for us to measure the indicator. So when you go back to the slide which I was showing you, it was talking about, is the data available? This is what we are talking about. Where are we going to get the information for the numerator? Where are we going to get the information for the denominator? Are we together? But for this particular indicator that I've used, it's very easy because you can even go and just go and count the teachers that are there and the number of pupils that are there. But let's say you are looking at the mortality rate. Where are you going to get the information about the total number of deaths that occurred in a population? Where are we going to get that information? It's quite complicated because it means we need to go to the means of health, we need to go to the village admins, because some deaths that occurs, especially in the that occur within the village, most of those are not even reported to the hospitals, right? So it means such deaths are not captured formally. So it means we need to go to the local village. We ask them how many died in this village in 2018. We are done. We go to another village. We go to another village. We go to another village. It becomes quite complicated, especially if your project was being disseminated at a national level. So, but for this one, it's very simple. So once we have the information, we can now substitute in the formula and come up with a figure. So what could be our figure there? We've got a numerator and we've got a denominator. What's the final value? We've got a numerator there which is a 10 and the denominator which is a 200. Sorry? To one teacher? To 10 pupils? To 20? How have you arrived at that answer, Mr. Shamta? Everyone would be interested to know. How have you divided, sir? How have you divided, sir? Huh? 1 to 20. Interesting. So what's the final figure when you divide? Sorry? 0.05, right? And what does that 0.05 mean? It's a ratio we are doing, it's a comparison. We want to compare the number of teachers that we have against the number of pupils that we have. Right? That's why it is teacher-pupil ratio. And we need to be very careful because we might jumble these things and use the numerator as our denominator and use the denominator as our numerator. And it means it becomes very complicated for you to do the interpretation. So like that 0.5 that you have means what? Try to say 200 divided by 10, it will give you what? Sorry? 20? Then what does that 20 mean? So that the other side we have the 0.5, right? Then the other side we are having a 20. I don't want to give you the answer because the indicator that we've used is quite common. We've encountered this indicator on several times. As we just see a teacher-pupil ratio, teacher-pupil ratio, teacher-pupil ratio. And some of you have even used this indicator before. So I want you to tell us how you've been interpreting using the projects that you've been working on. Or even this one is also new to us. No. Mr. Shamt, so you flipped the page. Now we are using the 200 as our denominator and the 10 as our numerator. So we've arrived at 20. Sorry? What are you saying, sir? Huh? So what that means is that per one teacher you are having 20 pupils. That's what that means. For every teacher, a single teacher, you have 200 pupils, not 200 pupils, 20 pupils. Then let's try to increase the 200 there and put a 2,000. Then we are going to have what? Let's say we have got a 200 there, we put a 2,000. Let's say we've got 10 teachers at Vubi Primary School, then the number of pupils are 2,000. So if we say 2,000 divided by 10 to give us 200, right? Then it means per single teacher, or in other words, you're having a single teacher who is now teaching about 200 what? 200 pupils. Now, let's say in your project, one of your indicator, among the indicators that you have, you've got an indicator which is looking at quality of education, right? Are we together, class? You've got an indicator which is looking at quality of education. Now, the other question is, how do you define the same quality of education? So we can define it in terms of the number. I mean, we can define that quality of education using the teacher-pupil ratio. Are we together? I'm not saying the quality of education will be limited only to teacher-pupil ratio, no. You can also look at, if possible, if there's such a thing where you can say book-to-pupil ratio, you can have it as an indicator you want to measure. Per book, how many pupils do we have who is going to be accessing this book? Because there are schools where you go to, like a secondary school where you went. You find that there's just one biology book, and it's in the library, and all of you want to go and use the same book, and you're about 200 of you as grade 12s, but there's only one biology book. So that can be a good indicator that you can be tracking over time, right? You are going to be reporting on it depending on what you are trying to address as a project. So it should relate to your impact, right? Here I'm just trying to bring it because we are looking at that thing which we've termed as a teacher to pupil ratio. Let's say another indicator I was looking at quality of education. It's very difficult to quantify what quality of education is. No wonder when you use the word quality of something, then just know that this is a qualitative indicator. It doesn't require numbers. Are we together? But if you have technical experts who can help you maybe to break down what you are calling quality of education, where you define it in terms of teacher to pupil ratio, you define it in terms of the environment itself, you define it in terms of the number of toilets available, you define it in terms of other services that are offered at that particular school, then it will be possible for you to quantify now what we call quality of education. Are we together? So here we are assuming that we've got 10 teachers, then we've got 200 pupils at that Vubi secondary school. Then we've computed, and then it's giving us 20. Then it means per single teacher, you have 200 pupils that are being attended to by that particular teacher. Are we together? Then let's use the same information to compute a rate. So you're saying a rate now is supposed to be, the numerator is supposed to be related to the denominator. Are we together? So let's use maternal mortality. Let's use the mortality rate because we can't use that one. Yes. Exactly. I feel it's supposed to be that way. Because if you go the other way around, it will give you a 0.5, which is very difficult to interpret. I don't even know what that 0.5 means. Or maybe there is someone who can justify that 0.5. Mr. Shamt. So it's supposed to be the other way around. Sorry? Sorry? Yes, it's supposed to have a numerator and a denominator. Others, the way they do it, they can even just say 10, then they put a full colon, then they put 200. So what that means is that for 10 teachers, for 200 pupils, you've got 10 teachers available for those pupils. Exactly, like there's nothing wrong. Have we heard what he's saying? So he's saying here we can have a 10, then we put a full colon, then we put 200. It means we're trying to do a comparison between this thing and this. Also, you can just say whatever that you have here divided by the denominator and give you the value. It's to interpret the value. What's it? Which one is easier for you to interpret? If just saying 10 full colon 200 is easier for you to interpret, there's nothing wrong. If that is if that is complicated for you to interpret, then just say numerator divided by the denominator, the value that you are going to have. That's why, let me pause it there for the ratio. When we look at the indicator leaf sheet, when now you define exactly how you are going to measure, you see that it becomes very simple because you are going now to document everything. How are you going to measure the same numerator there? Then how are you going to measure the same denominator? Then how are you going to substitute everything in a formula? So let's quickly go to Aerate. So Aerate, we are saying that the numerator is supposed to be related to the denominator. An example would be mortality rate, where we are looking at the total number of deaths that happened in that population over the total population. Let's say we recorded 40 deaths, then the total population is 200. Then what is going to be our rate? So it's 40 divided by 200 to be what? So when you cancel 0 zeros and remaining 4 divided by 20, then 20 into 4, 0, right? Then to be 0.2, right? Am I correct? Am I correct? So a rate without multiplying, without using 100% as a factor, if you want to interpret it very easily, then you can interpret it in terms of a proportion. But to make it easy, most people now, they go further now to make it as a percentage where now you multiply by 100 so that it becomes very easy for you to interpolate. So that 0.2 multiplied by 100, what are you going to have? 20%. And what could be the interpretation? Hello? What could be the interpretation? You said that your mortality rate is 20%. What does that mean? As simple as that. 20 out of 100 people died in 2018. That's what that means. Or you can say, for every 100 people, at least 20 died. For every group of 100 people, 20 died in 2018. That's what that particular value means. So that's a proportion. So it means now it's supposed to be out of 1. It becomes now a proportion. Out of 1, exactly. So, but for a proportion, it's very difficult even to make other people understand. That's why usually you find that people are reporting in percentages, because it's very easy. If I say 20% of people in Vubi died in 2018, even someone who has never been to school, at least they will have an idea. But if you tell them in a proportion, you confuse them. They will be asking a lot of questions. What do you mean? What do you mean? But for you, you understand what that particular value means. But them, they don't understand. And remember, the information that you have is going to sit in the public domain. People are going to be using your indicator to make other decisions, not only in your project. There are other stakeholders that want to use the same information. So if they don't understand what you are reporting on, that means they cannot use the information, right? So always you are encouraged to go into percentages so that everyone is able to understand what you mean by your figures. So let's just quickly look at this so that we close. Well, this is the 8005. So where's my slide? Where's my slide? So there's this thing called indicator reference sheet. So this one just now documents the indicators themselves in details. There in your frameworks, you just be saying number of people. Maternal mortality rate, you end there, but now you need to define what maternal mortality is, for example. You need to document what pupil to teacher ratio is. So this is an example here. I don't know, are you able to see? You can't. Okay, I'll be reading. So the first thing there is talking about the indicator itself. What's the indicator? Where are you going to be getting your indicators? It's either from the results framework, right? Or from where? The logic model. Or you get your indicators from the logical framework. So, and unfortunately, this cannot be increased beyond this. But for those of you that managed to download the slides, I already shared these slides. So the first part there is talking about the indicator. What's the indicator itself? So here there is an example. It's talking about contraceptive prevalence rate. So let's use load shedding. Let's load shedding as an example. Let's assume that there's no contraceptive prevalence rate there. We want now to have an indicator on load shedding. It's possible that we can come up with one. So, if you're working on a project which is looking at load shedding, you want to come up with an indicator. I know you can have a lot of indicators, but just the way it is there, contraceptive prevalence rate, maintain the prevalence rate there, then just substitute the contraceptive and put in something. You don't understand what I'm saying. So here, this particular part here, it now documents the indicator in detail. So the first part is talking about the indicator. What's the, you need now to mention the same indicator. What's the indicator? So here there is an example. Contraceptive prevalence rate. So it means these guys, for this indicator, which are called contraceptive prevalence rate, they want to be included in the prevalence of contraceptive use in a population. Now I'm saying, let's We are looking at load shedding because that's a problem that we have identified. Means I can even just say load shedding prevalence rate, just an example. Could be an indicator. Prevalence, we're talking about what has already happened, right? And here in Lusaka, we know that power is going for sometimes 15 hours, sometimes for 21 hours, sometimes for 15 hours. We can go and collect information if it's just for us, then we can measure load shedding prevalence rate. Are we together? So there you just put like, there are so many indicators that you can use. There is maternal mortality, there is this, there is teacher population, but depending on what you're doing as a project, you can define the one indicator. Like where I'm currently going, there's something that we call order turnaround time. It's an indicator that we've just developed internally. So there, what that means is that we measure the time when we receive an order and the time it will take us for us to go into the warehouse, pick the drugs, pack them and deliver to the client. So that's an indicator that we've been reporting on to the top management. It's something that we developed internally. So it means looking at what you are going to be doing as a project, you are going to discuss, you are going to brainstorm, then you are going to identify indicators. Indicators are not limited to what we have here. It's dependent on what you are doing. Then the definition, so it means you need now to define what contraceptive prevalence means. You need to define what load shedding prevalence rate means. So here is an example. Definition of a contraceptive prevalence rate. Percentage of women of reproductive age 15 to 49 who are married or in union using a modern method of family planning. So just trying to define what contraceptive prevalence rate is. It's talking about women in a reproductive age. There's an age specified which is 15 to 59 who are using at least a modern contraceptive or a modern method of family planning. Then unit of measure. How are you going to be measuring this particular indicator, or in which form are you going to be measuring this indicator? Here there is a percentage. If it's a count, you are going to specify that this is a count. Are we together? If it's a ratio, you are going to say it's a ratio. Then how to calculate? How are you going now to be calculating the very indicator? So this one, everything is documented here. The numerator will be looking at the number of women aged 15 to 49 years who are married or in union, who are using properly. The number of women aged 15 to 49 years who are married or in union, who are not pregnant, and who report using a modern method of family planning. So this is just trying to specify. Yes, sir. Yes. Oh, I understand. Thank you. We end here.